Thank you for joining us. This is Paul Wilson.
And Chris Emke.
And you're listening to the Diesel Performance Podcast. Chris, man, we've had a hell of a week over here at Duramax Tuner.
Don't even get me started.
Hey, great news, guys. Calibrated Power, home of DuramaxTuner.com, is now officially housed at DuramaxTuner.com.
Yeah.
We merged two websites.
We have a new website
Yep.
that went live last night.
Sure.
So when you type in DuramaxTuner.com or you type in CalibratedPower.com, it brings you to one page. So for years, there's always been this mixed perception of guy calls in. I answer, Calibrated Power, this is Chris. Well, I'm looking for Duramax Tuner. Well, that's the same company. Well, why did you answer Calibrated Power? Guys, the incorporation's always been Calibrated Power. That's the company name.
Right.
Home of Duramax Tuner. Duramax Tuner is one segment held under Calibrated Power. So we felt like this was the right move. Paul is always, over the last couple of years, has been working with 2 Facebook pages, 2 websites.
Yeah.
When guys call in and I support the customer and get them taken care of on orders. I had 2 websites that I had to do orders in.
Sure.
Any of our dealers, they had 2 different dealer accounts.
Even just adding new products. So what it used to be is that Duramax Tuner sold Duramax products, and we used to have Cummins Dash Tuner,
Yep.
and that sold all of our Cummins products. And then Cummins came in and said, we don't really like that. They took over that website, so we reverted back and launched a calibratedpower.com website.
Yep.
And for a while, that housed all of our Cummins products.
Yeah.
But as the business grew and we started to get into Power Strokes, Volkswagen,
Ag
EcoBoost,
tuning.
Ag Tuning, Roxors, none of this stuff is specific to Cummins, and it's not always specific to Duramax. But we had this really, really strong, passionate brand following around Duramax Tuner. 4-to-1 over Calibrated Power. So it made sense that if we were going to merge the two, we stuck with a stronger, more recognizable brand name, which was Duramax Tuner. The new website's pretty cool. It's still got a few bugs in it. So, hey, if you find any problems, email me, Paul at Duramax Tuner. If you find any products you want to buy, you could probably email Chris.
Yeah. CMK at DuramaxTuner.com. Be glad to help.
So this has been a long project, a big project in the making. We're really excited for it. It has been a little laborsome on the staff here at Duramax Tuner, and I'm laughing while I say that because it has been brutal, huh, Chris?
Yeah. Any of our listeners, if you've ever had the luxury of being here or being on the phone with any of the guys here, any of the associates or customer support staff. If you talk to anyone today, it's like the life's been sucked out of them. This has been a marathon that has literally been sprinted, and we're right at the end of, like, it's almost 5:00. Everyone wants to get out of here. They want to recharge because everyone's honestly mentally broken at this point.
The great thing is for any of our customers, so if you're a listener of the show and you bought something from us this week, we've got you. We absolutely, number one, took the priority of taking care of customers first, which has probably been the result of a lot of the hard work out of a lot of the staff around here in the building. So big shout out to everybody we work with. A big thank you as well. Guys, speaking of people that we work with that make things happen, I got to bring up WC Fab, WC Powder Coating, Whirly Custom Powder Coating. Chris, I jumped on their Facebook page the other day and just took a look at some of the colors, and it always baffles me because we were there. We did the walkthrough, and we've seen all sorts of customers' colors come through the shop, but I feel like every time I go and look it up, there's 5 new colors that I've never seen ever before that just look fucking awesome.
Well, one of the cool things that Jason does and the guys over at WC Fab is they offer all these colors through Prismatic, okay? And one guy orders it, he sees it on a truck, he wants to order it, and then Jason's like, shit, this color's hot. I'm going to make it like a featured color.
Yeah.
And over the last 6 years of being here, you see trends, the frosts, the translucents.
The teal.
Yep. I mean,
everything had a teal shade for about a year there.
So, you see all these different, textured finishes, all these different things. So as that, I don't know what you would even call it, as that collection of colors grew, he just adds more and more and more.
Yeah.
And you still get a lot of, Jason's signature color, that burgundy, that pearl burgundy, translucent looking color.
Sure.
The grays, the WC Fab gray, which is
WC Fab
one.
red,
Yep.
gloss black. Those are like we see them everywhere, and they're great colors. I get it.
So, you see a lot of that, and they always add it. But yeah, I mean, every time I go onto the site, anytime a customer, we start talking about colors and what they want to do. Oh, my buddy got this, and I keep thinking back on the whole frost. The frost epidemic.
Yeah.
The grape, the teals, white. I mean, those are really cool colors. So, I mean, literally, your imagination can go wild. I've had guys where they haven't ordered parts, turbo kits for months. All because I got the money, Chris. It's not that. It's I can't choose the color. I'm like, man, I would have fucking sent that shit raw, and I would have figured it out from there.
Tough problems to have, right?
Right.
No, but yeah, not only do they have every color under the sun, but they do the job right, and that's something that we learned when we went out and actually visited the facility. Got to see them roll some of the racks in, roll some of the racks out, talk about ovens and temperatures, and just kind of the whole process. It's really, really interesting. If you haven't heard that, go back and check out our tour of WC Fab. That was a great episode, and we've used some of those segments in other stuff.
One of the other things too, when you're talking about going back and looking at past things that we have done, it's always cool to see other companies, even companies that we might not necessarily work with directly, post or produce content around things that we are so passionate about.
Oh man, you're talking about Clint Cannon for sure.
I mean,
God, those have been good.
It's really interesting. They've offered some different turbo manufacturer videos and things like that with their new VFR series.
Yeah. They've always made great product videos.
Great products, great product videos. Clint is one of the more knowledgeable people, I would say, in this industry and in this space. And he is also passionate about emissions on stuff. But they just released a couple of videos about the emissions equipment.
Yeah.
And, someone such as us, emissions nerds or diesel nerds in general, it's really cool to see a company halfway across the country. We've done business in the past. We've had their parts on our trucks in the past as well.
You drive.
I drive the
ATS emissions equipped from turbo kit. Yeah.
But it's really cool to get a different perspective and see the R&D on a company that we don't necessarily work with on a day-to-day basis. Just there's some common interests and similarities, and it's really cool to see that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so they've got at least 3 videos out right now. Jump on, check them out. They're on the ATS YouTube channel, ATS Diesel Performance. So check that out. I thought one of the other cool things I saw for news and media going on right now is our buddy KJ just put out an article on trucktrend.com. Diesel Power Magazine's not dead. It's just not being printed. And it's 10 all-time best diesel pickup trucks. There are going to be some arguments.
So is this are these modified trucks, just stock trucks?
No. They're all out of the box. They're all judged from an out of the box standpoint. They all have different categories. There's some Ford, there's some Cummins, there's some Duramax, but they go back from first gen Dodge to 2020s.
Oh, I'm sure.
So it's a wide range. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there's going to be some controversy. Staples are in there, LBZ. Common Rail 5.9 Cummins, 6.7 liter Power Stroke. They're staples throughout it, right? Mm-hmm. That we're all going to agree that these are great trucks. But then there's some others, man, that it's going to ruffle some feathers. You can't put a 10 best without pissing somebody off.
Yeah, right.
But this for sure is going to light some fires.
I've read some of these articles in the past, maybe not Diesel Power Magazine, but just others. And you get these 6.5 or 6.2s, or you get the 7.3 IDIs. And, the first gen, the 12 valve stuff I'm all about, right? So I'm not arguing that. But, it's just crazy to see how far what 20 years gets you.
Yeah.
It really, really is. So
yeah, no shit, huh?
Excited to see what another 20 years brings.
Well, hey, speaking of things that have been 20 years in the making, today we are doing an episode all about the LB7 injector.
Yeah. So for the listeners that are been under a rock or new to the show, LB7 is a Generation 1 Duramax motor. Yep. It went from 2001 to early 2004.
Revolutionized the industry, bringing common rail.
First common rail injection truck into the mix. And there was a lot of learning curves. I mean, to this day, right, as we get into this episode, there's a lot of learning curves that Bosch, the provider of the fuel system, the common rail fuel system, have done. Yep. So it's really cool to see how,
Well, I want to spearhead this right off the top, Chris. So we end up in a lot of conversations talking about SAC, VCO.
Okay.
2 different style nozzles.
And we've had
in the marketplace
about this in the past on other episodes.
Yeah. So 2 different style nozzles that are available in the marketplace today. The SAC 00s, I believe you can only get from S&S. Yep. VCOs, that's what all Bosch injectors are. Now,
Well, not the
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
LB7 injectors.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Oh, yep.
LB7 injectors from Bosch are going to be your VCOs. Now, reliability for LB7 injectors has always been a question.
And there's been a lot of things there. You know, a lot of people group, well, the VCO nozzle's junk.
Right.
Okay. There were a lot of scenarios with like the softness of the seat and ball. There were a lot of moving components inside the injector. I'm going to do broad terminology because we're going to kind of dive into this.
Sure.
And we have seen over the years that the reliability has grown. I can't tell you, Paul, how many times I've had a guy call in. I got 150,000 miles on my LB7. GM's put 3 sets of injectors.
Yep.
Right. Well, those were older style injectors, and these were also 10, 12 years ago, 8 years ago, 5 years ago. And I would say within what I understand is like the last 5 years, there has been a lot of improvements and a lot of that, hard data to back up, some of those improvements.
Between 07 and 17 is really when we saw all of the adjustments come out from Bosch on LB7 VCO nozzles. Okay, so over the years, you're right. There's been several and several design changes. Yep. Bosch is constantly trying to improve, right? So like even on their older products, they still got to warranty it. So when you talk about an LB7 guy going through 3 sets in 150,000 miles, he probably didn't pay a penny for that. Right. Bosch and GM foots the bill on all of it. They don't want to do that. They're not in the business to give away shit for free or replace parts at a cost. So they have a financial incentive to get better and better. The first gen design, unfortunately, was not actually ready for the U.S. market. These first gen, like the original LB7s, most of those injectors have already been replaced under warranty.
Oh, 100%.
Would be my guess. I think you'd be really rare to find a barn truck that has the all-time original LB7 injectors in it.
Let's just, for the people, because we're going to get those guys, well, my dad's truck had.
Sure.
I get it. But how many of those trucks are running in a healthy manner? Guys can prolong the injectors. Guys can keep running the trucks. I mean, I got a buddy. He was one of our old machinists, Ryan Storley. His dad has an LB7. He's owned the LB7 for probably 8 years. He's had the same injectors in the truck for 8 years. He goes driving down the road. It looks like a mosquito fogger out the tailpipe. It's bad. Those aren't healthy injectors.
Fine.
Yep. Those aren't healthy injectors. And these are the characteristics that the LB7 injectors saw that caused those premature failures.
Absolutely. So when those came out, that's what we're talking about. I think that's where they got a lot of their nasty reputation about it. Each design revision addressed a shortcoming. So with all of these changes throughout the years, they're not coming out. They've never done like a top to bottom redo. What they do is they come out with 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 revision, and they're just making small tweaks, small improvements. That's why there's been so many revisions over time.
Yep. And then the last significant prolonging design change was in actually 2017.
Let's jump back there. So
edit.
One.
Edit? I don't want to sound like an idiot. So
that's fine.
Okay. Where are you?
1313. I got to write that
One
down.
significant improvement. Oh, okay. The chrome plated ball.
Yep.
Correct. Okay. My bad. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the significant improvements was in 2007. There was a chrome plated ball seat that got the injector life to about 90,000 miles, give or take. So, I mean, these are guys, they were having failed injectors at 30, 40, 50,000 miles.
Yeah.
So now to be able to extend that to almost 100,000 miles, that was ideal.
And the ball seat inside the injector is the piece of the injector that's going to essentially keep it closed.
Yes.
So that's the sealing platform that's going to keep the injector closed so it doesn't bleed fuel when it's not supposed to.
And a lot of that hazing and things like that, the way the ball hits on the seat, wear would come in and then fuel would actually seep through, causing that mosquito fogger-like haze.
That's right. You're blowing fuel when you're not actually in a combustion event, meaning, you're going to get all that white smoke. And it's funny because that white smoke, I was just talking with Nick. We did the video for white smoke in regen for the newer trucks. And I was asking, I was like, I don't really get why are they white smoke? And he's like, well, because fuel's going in and it's not getting hot enough to burn off, it's really a vapor. Yep. What you're seeing is fuel vapor, and that's what white smoke is. So that's the difference between white and black smoke, is too hot or not hot enough. Yep. The next and last really big significant design change to prolonging the life came out with diamond-like coated nozzles, nozzle needle.
Okay.
This addressed the most common LB7 injector failure mode of leaking nozzles that manifested itself in the haze and the idle, like we're talking about. So the ball seat started it, and then the needle would be the next point that would have this issue. Once they went to a diamond-like coated, a DLC needle, it really changed everything.
I'm comprehending all this as you're saying it, because there are things even myself as I talk to guys. I don't know the internal, right?
Sure. Sure. Well, like that. Well, DLC is a really, really hard coating, that diamond-like coating, right? So what it does is it prevents wear. So you're going to get a longer lasting, higher surface hardness, I guess would be the right way to put it. And also we're going to reduce friction.
Yep.
All these things are going to make a big impact on longevity. Now, we don't know how long this design is going to last in the field. We asked Exergy, hey guys, they've been out since 2017 with the most updated VCO out there. You guys are expecting long life expectancy out of them. What's it look like so far? Because now we're 3 years into this.
Right.
0 returned.
Yeah. No,
1,000 sold, 0 returned.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing now, again, I can only go back off of customers, or in the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, I had my LB7, right?
Yeah.
I sold that truck, and I still talk to the owner of the truck now. And I mean, those injectors, they have about 160, 170,000 miles, and they're still the same injectors that I had put in them.
Yep.
One of the things that I get a lot of kickback on is, you get a lot of guys, LBZs, LOIs, these guys that get rid of their LB7s, they get into these, slightly newer trucks because of that sack nozzle design, and the injector is so much better. It's a common rail injection system. They run at a higher pressure, so they're going to wear.
Right.
So when we're talking now about 100,000 or 150,000 mile life expectancy out of an injector, we're playing in the same arena as an LOI, LBZ, so on and so forth truck.
We are.
Newer RPO. Now, the other thing is, we talk about the cost, right? The cost is a big thing. LB7 injectors on average, I would say, are a third of the cost cheaper than like an LOI LBZ going up.
Okay. What are we, like $2,800 for a set?
For like a stock set, you're like $2,300.
Okay.
Where like LOI, they're $3,000 right off the bat. If we were talking Exergy's numbers,
right?
Again, it's who we work with.
Just ballpark. Right.
So now you have to flip it on to where someone goes, well, it takes more labor and time to replace the LB7 injector, which is true.
Truth.
Right. So where I'm getting at is by the time you price out an LOI injector job, or an LBZ, or an LMM, or an LML, probably a little different because the injector costs a little slightly more. And then you talk about the cost of, we'll just 1 to 10 Duramax.
Yeah.
The cost to replace injectors.
If you're going to go to a shop and pay for the labor, pretty similar.
Very similar.
All the way across the board.
Very similar. So keep that in mind, guys, when you are looking for these trucks, because honestly, the LB7s are getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of truth to that, man. I know when I first got into diesel, you couldn't find an LB7 for under $15,000. At least not one that could drive.
No.
And yeah, they're getting more beat up, but they're out there.
I mean, look at the old second gen Dodges. I just got off the phone with a customer today. Someone who was asking some questions out in California, and he has an LMM Duramax, and he wants to change it up. And he's talking about buying a brand new truck. He's like, but then again, I got a buddy of mine up in the northern state. He's got a 96 12 valve. It's like it only has 100,000 miles. What's he want for it? $30,000. I was like, you're fucking high. I would never ever in my. I got
30
sick.
grand.
But he was saying like in the state of California, those are smog exempt.
Right.
So that's gonna drive. If it's a perfect looking truck, things like that.
Yeah.
Cut that truck out of the equation. There are still people that desire those platforms, and there are still people that are going to desire the LB7 platform because of the simplicity.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I can't say that I disagree with you there. I get it. I wouldn't do it. Like it wouldn't be me cutting a check, but I get why somebody would. Right.
I understand. I still don't get it. Like I get the idea around it, but just that type of money, man. The offerings that the newer platforms have when you start talking about that type of money, like that's the stuff that I think about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, to get us back into injectors here, I think one of the things you got to think about as well is that it doesn't matter how great of a design, SAC, VCO, LBZ, LB7, you still got to take care of your injectors. And I think that's where a lot of guys miss the mark.
Yeah.
They say, I do my fuel filter replacement every 10,000 miles, and I'm good.
Yeah, I think
Done.
the most common guy, right? They have a 150, 250,000 mile truck. Let's say they buy the truck secondhand.
Yeah.
Injectors need to be replaced. Well, they want to do the injectors, but they don't want to add the injection pump into the mix because the truck's holding good rail, right? But that pump has 200 some odd thousand miles, and that pump's seen some shit.
Went in the same day the injectors went in.
Right. So, what you see is, or what I've seen a lot of is guys will replace the injectors, an injector has an issue. The fuel quality these days aren't the best, right? We know that. And it's hard to get fuel consistently from the same station, and you don't know what is in those fuel tanks at these stations.
Quality standards vary widely.
Yes, they do. So
that's what we've learned.
You got to look at it as, when we talk about maintenance and things like that, added fuel filtration is going to go a long way. There's a lot of supply pumps on the market that can get you there. But when you are replacing the injectors, I can't stress enough, you might want to look at doing an injection pump swap as well, so replacing that, and at a minimum flushing the tank, cleaning out the lines, or cleaning out the tank and adding like a lift pump into it, and just doing a fresh system from start to finish.
Sure. Well, even from the factory, when LB7s were first released, there was a lot of pushback from GM on how tight of a fuel filter they needed to run from the factory.
Yeah.
So just from the factory, your stock LB7 kind of got a shitty filter.
Yep.
Now, over time, those have been better and better and better. And there are really easy swap overs like a Cat 2 micron and things like that.
Very popular these days, too.
But we also know that a lot of you guys you start getting a leaking fuel filter housing. So it's always, and listen, we've both done it, delete the fuel filter housing, run a FAS. That's fine. Maintain your FAS. Yep. Don't forget that you still need to swap out the filter. Yeah, it's a better filter. Probably means it's going to pick up more shit. You got an older truck. Like, be smart. Think about your truck. Think about your injectors and what are you doing to help them last. Additive. Chris, neither one of us run additive.
Yeah, I was reading
that. We are
that.
not big ones on additive.
I was reading that last bullet point. I mean, I got into a debate with someone the other day here in the office, someone that called in, and they started questioning me as to why I don't believe in it. And then they started telling me all these reasons as to why, and he's a third party and he feels this way. I am not knocking anyone for them adding additive, using additive, believing in it, right? It's just for me, myself, I have to see it firsthand in front of me. And that's the big picture.
Have you watched any of Hot Shot Secrets videos?
I've seen a couple.
And I'm sorry, fan on our Facebook group, fans of Diesel Performance Podcast, there's a guy who I assume is working there or it's somehow in cahoots with the boys at Hot Shot Secrets. They do a lot of videos. So he's been posting their videos in our Facebook group pretty regularly. Cool. I don't have a problem with it. That's how we got started with the podcast, man. Of course. So feel free, as long as it's, not too much. There is a lot of science out there.
I believe it.
What I don't have is the chemistry background to push back on any of the science that they provide. So it's not that I don't believe them. I'm not smart enough to argue with them.
No. Oh, hell no.
So I'm assuming things like well-known brands like Hot Shot Secrets and Power Service and some of the other well-known brands out there.
Amalgamated that, you had talked to in the past.
Yeah, Amalgamated. Yeah. I think those guys definitely have something there that's going to help. I'm just not the expert to ask about it. I think it's the best I could say about running additives. They probably work.
It'd be good to get them on the show. You know what? And they could teach us.
I like it. I like it. What a great idea.
School session, man. I'd take it.
I love when we plan our shows during our show. It's very meta.
Yeah. I'm excited. That was the best news I got all day. I can't wait to have them.
Guys, the main point of this whole conversation today is that the current VCO nozzles are not the same thing that came in the original truck. So when you're shopping out the difference, and you're looking at what's the difference in longevity, what am I going to get out of it, what's the power gains, blah, 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 blah. Just know that there have been a lot of updates. There's been some really cool stuff that make these much more applicable for the normal everyday driver. Yeah. And I think that's the big takeaway from learning more about all of the updates to VCO nozzles.
I think a lot of people lose sight of that, and it's such an old platform, kind of go back a little bit here. When you talk to guys, brand new platform comes out, 19 Cummins, 2020 Duramax. You got tunes? Well, it takes time. It takes time. And I think this kind of showcases that 20-year-old technology are, still seeing improvements.
Sure.
And there is a lot of hype right now for like the stack style nozzle, and there is a easy reception to that information because of what the newer style injectors are.
Makes sense.
You know, it does.
It is a logical solution.
Yeah. But, you know, you don't take a 12-valve Cummins and put a common rail injection system on it. You know, it's just there's things there that, you know, there's also, going back to it, just there's improvements that have been made.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the big picture to educate any LB7 owner that might potentially be looking at injectors in the future.
Absolutely. Well, hey, guys, a little bit shorter of an episode today. We are going to come back to you next week. I think we have a big research topic coming up, so we're excited for that. And early February, mid-February, we're going to have another budget build episode. I'm really excited for that one.
There's so
I'm not releasing.
much. Yeah, there is so much going on. It's not going to be. We'll give a little something.
It is
it's
going
not
to be very
our normal.
different.
It is not our normal budget build. I'm excited because me and Paul have talked about this a little bit, but there's going to be some surprising aspects here for myself.
Yeah.
Some curveballs. And then we have some, you know, newer ride-along videos that we're going to be doing as well that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So a lot of cool stuff that's in the pipeline for us. So, you know, get
Nick's
forward.
out of the office today. You want to go drive the Durburb right now?
There's about an inch of snow on the ground, no.
So, yes.
Listen, there is a lot of shit I can get away with here. There's a couple things that's a big no-no.
The burb in the snow is one of the no-nos?
Well, a freshly detailed vehicle that you go get dirty, no. But no, like the Apache in the snow, absolutely not. I think Nick cringed when we did that Christmas photo a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like somewhat icy. He almost had a connection fit. But no burb today. I'm out. You can do it. I'll film you. I'll film you do it.
I remember when you used to be cool. Guys, for today, this has been Paul Wilson.
And Chris Emke. Have
Thanks
a great
for
weekend.
listening.
He's got a 96 12-valve. It's like it only has 100,000 miles. What's he want for it? 30 grand. I was like, you're fucking high. I would never, ever in my...